How's it going, guys? Thank you for checking out my channel and welcome to today's video. Today is going to be a continuation from a previous video where I went and talked about what types of bases you would use for certain types of runewords and for certain types of unique items that you're able to find in the game. Going over ethereal versus non-ethereal and why you would benefit from having an ethereal base for mods such as Indestructible, Repairs, and Replenishes. Today we're going to talk about why you'd find certain endgame runewords such as Hoto and CTA be rolled in, for lack of better wording, low tier types of bases such as double axes and flails, and how that's actually going to benefit your character overall. And the comment shoutout is actually the inspiration for this video. And the two comments that actually inspired this are asking why I would put Hoto in a flail versus putting it in a scourge, and also if it's simply for the requirements. Those answers and more coming up. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Not even death can save you from me.
Greetings, mortals. I knew you would find your way back here.
Looking at the screen, we have multiple different weapon bases, and we have a runeword that's corresponding to that particular base. And on the left is going to be the lowest end of that type of weapon class, with the one on the right being either the next one up or the highest level for that weapon class, to be able to give a good comparison side by side as to which one you would potentially want to use and why. With the very bottom one being two different bases, and I'm going to go over why you'd want to choose one particular base over another depending on how that particular runeword is used. Now, this first one is going to be the one people asked about the most, which is why I put Hoto, or Heart of the Oak, in a flail over a scourge or a knout. And I don't have a scourge, but I do have a knout. The reason for it is exactly what one of the comments said, which is the requirements. This is not something that you're going to actually be using for the one-hand damage at all. This is simply going to be used as a stat stick. So looking at the runeword itself, 3 to skills, FCR, and you have resistances, so there's lots of good things that are going to be on this runeword. It is an ideal weapon to be able to have for casters, simply for the stats themselves, not for the damage that you would actually be causing from the base of the runeword itself, which is why you will see some people actually put this in an ethereal item, because simply using it for the casting effect is not going to be doing any damage towards the durability for it to be able to brick. This is something that you can actually put in an ethereal item and simply just cast with it, and you should be good to go. And that's why I chose a flail, which has lower requirements, being 35 for dexterity and 41 for strength, versus the next one up being a knout that has dexterity of 73 and a strength of 82. The next one we're going to look at is CTA, and why also people could use an ethereal base for this particular runeword, because just casting battle orders is not going to use any durability. I chose to put it in double axe, comparatively speaking to the option I have here, which is the Eaton axe, because of the strength requirement that is going to be needed for the double axe, which is only 43, compared to the Eaton axe, which is 145 strength required and the dexterity of 45. I had an issue with this when it came to my Uber Frenzy Bar build that I made a long time ago. The problem was, without having Enigma on and going and pre-buffing a Treachery at the fire outside of the River Flame waypoint, I wasn't able to actually have enough strength to equip these. However, my character was already holding them, so they were just red when it came to looking at them on the inventory screen. Now, this is an issue for people if they die. If they don't have the hard points invested in the attributes where needed, they're not going to be able to actually pick up the items, and their body is going to still remain on the ground, and they need to be able to shift their attribute points accordingly. This is why, again, it's really crucial to make sure that for specific types of runewords, you want to have the right type of base that's going to be useful for your build and for your character. And in this case, you want to use for caster weapons, because you're not utilizing the damage. You want to go with the lowest required base that you can find. And that's why I chose the double axe over the Eaton axe. And also, we'll save the very bottom one for last, which is why you would want to choose, for example, a crystal sword over a phase blade. This isn't grief, it's for spirit. The reason is you don't want to have so much invested into, for example, dexterity that it would otherwise not be necessary, comparatively speaking to a crystal sword with the only required strength of 43, no dexterity. Now, the main thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, but it's really important to understand, not only is the right type of base going to be important, but the item level of the base is also going to be very crucial in being able to have the potential for the amount of sockets needed to be able to hold the runeword. Now, in crystal swords example, you will find a crystal sword in normal from Bale or Cows that will be able to roll with 4 open sockets to be able to have spirit in normal technically. However, the odds of actually having it drop in normal are going to be significantly lower, comparatively speaking, to just going into Nightmare and start killing everything in sight. And the reason is, again, you have 2 areas in normal with the entire difficulty of Nightmare to be able to drop the right type of crystal sword with the required item level to be able to get 4 open sockets at Larzik, to then make Spirit in the crystal sword before going into Hell to be able to make Spirit in the Monarch. That's why not only the required base, or the right type of base, excuse me, is going to be needed to have certain Runewords go in it, but the item level is going to be really important too. And you could get lucky and find an item that already has the right item level, but for, again, certain instances, like this crystal sword, which is an item level 85, this has the potential to roll with 6 open sockets, compared to normal that only has the potential for 3, which is, again, very important with the item level, comparing it to different difficulties and where you could find it to get the right type of sockets for certain Runewords, and in this case, it's going to be Spirit for 4 open sockets. Now, I saved this one for last because it's really important to make sure that the use of the Runeword is taken into consideration for the type of base that you want, and that's going to be for something like Beast. Now, if you're going to be actually attacking with the weapon that you're going to have Beast in, you'd want to find something like, for example, a Berserker Axe to be able to put the Runeword in, so that way you can maximize the benefit of the damage from the weapon itself, comparatively speaking to just being a support character and wanting to utilize the fanaticism, for example, with a Summon Necro for the skeletons and the revives. And that's why I have a military pick going against a Berserker Axe, depending on the type of build that you're going to be utilizing the Runeword with. So again, a support character is going to want something with very low requirements because they're not going to be actually attacking with it. They're simply holding it, so that way you get the benefit of the fanaticism aura, comparatively speaking to somebody that's actually going to be attacking with a weapon, and you want to make sure to have a weapon that has high enough damage to be able to utilize the enhanced damage roll and make sure that you have enough damage output for being in werebear form. Because, for example, this particular base is not going to be attacking nearly as fast as, for example, something like a Phase Blade, which I'll go over in just a second. But with this, it comes with IAS, so to be able to find the right type of base that's going to be able to maximize the use of having less frames is going to be really helpful for being in werebear form, to be able to make sure that you get the most amount of hits possible per second to be able to maximize all the benefits of this amazing Runeword, instead of someone that's simply just using it for support reasons and wanting to use Magicism on their summons. Now, the reason I brought up why you'd want to make sure to have the right type of weapon speed versus a Berserker Axe and Phase Blade is for something like this, which I went over in the last video, but I'm going to briefly go over it again. Just simply looking at when it comes to the differences in the two. Phase Blade and Berserker Axe, because these are both the perfect griefs for their respective weapon bases. The Phase Blade is faster, the Berserker Axe deals more damage, but looking at the requirements for the type of build that you'd want to do, if you're going with a max strength setup and you don't want to invest a lot into dexterity, on paper, you would want to go with something like a Berserker Axe, because you're already investing the 138 points to go up to 156 for a Spirit and a Monarch, for example. And then you have a little bit of points put into dexterity to be able to hold this, and you're done. Versus something like this, you still have the 25 that's going to be going into the 156 for the strength. However, you're now going to have to invest 136 additional points into dexterity to be able to equip the Phase Blade version of Grief, comparatively speaking to the Berserker Axe one. So again, it's important not only when it comes to caster weapons to look over the different bases requirements, comparatively speaking to if it's casting weapons, that's all you need to really worry about. And for damage dealing ones, you want to make sure to really utilize not only the requirements for the type build, but the damage that you'd be getting. So these ones, without including the extra 400 damage, the damages are not really that much. I mean, this one's, it's double, but it's still only 71, comparatively speaking to 35. But you want to make sure to understand the requirements that it's going to need to be able to equip the item. I say this Runeword especially for last because I'm certain that everyone can agree that nobody cares what base you use to be able to make it, as long as it is a polearm, 4 open sockets, and you can make it super quick in Nightmare, you're good to go. And that's going to be Insight. And the whole reason for it is the meditation aura for the mana replenishment, especially for caster characters. Now, even when it comes to the bases of ethereal and non-ethereal, I'm certain that nobody really cares when it comes to doing a playthrough what base you use, because you simply just want to be able to roll this as fast as possible to be able to benefit from the meditation aura. And if you're able to get a decent base, you can really utilize that enhanced damage. But even without that, it really doesn't matter. You just need to be able to get the ability to replenish your mana fast, especially again for caster characters like a sorceress that's teleporting around. She's going to be eating mana like nobody's business. So you want to be able to have something that's going to be able to give you mana back quickly and easily, so that way you can go through the rest of the game all the way into hell without having to worry about just chugging mana potions all the time. The last point to discuss is when it comes to choosing the right type of base, it's also very important to make sure that the main hand and the switch types of bases for the weapons are not the same thing. The reason for this is you don't want to eventually, when it comes to using Hoto, teleport on switch with a base that would be identically looking to your Hoto and unfortunately not be able to utilize the FCR to be able to teleport around enough. It's really important to make sure that you choose the right type of base that's going to be beneficial to have for certain types of Runewords, but also to make sure that your main hand and your switch weapon bases are not going to be the exact same, so you don't get them mixed up. And that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. We're able to learn something new about what type of bases that you could potentially use for the high-end Runewords that most people would think you would need a really superior base, but honestly for caster weapons, it's simply the low required bases that would be beneficial because you're not going to utilize the damage on the base itself. With that said, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out. And if you like this video, let me know by leaving a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.